Good evening and a very warm welcome to Get Sleepy, the place where stories are woven to gently guide you into a world of peaceful slumber. I'm Thomas, and it is my distinct pleasure to be your companion tonight. For this very special episode, we will not be merely listening to a story, we will be living it. Together, we are about to embark on a tranquil, meandering journey through the heart of Italy, all from the unparalleled comfort of our very own private carriage on the legendary Dreamland Train. Have you ever felt that unique and quiet thrill that blossoms in your chest just before a grand adventure begins? It's not a loud excitement, but a soft, humming anticipation, a gentle whisper of the wonders that lie ahead. That is the feeling that fills our carriage tonight. This isn't just any train. The Dreamland Train operates on its own special timetable, its tracks laid not with steel and wood, but with the silver threads of imagination and slumber. It travels at the speed of thought, its engine powered by the quiet energy of a mind ready for rest. So, I invite you now to fully settle in. Let your body find its most comfortable position, nestled deep into your bed. Picture yourself here with me in our cozy, private sanctuary on wheels. The compartment is paneled with dark, polished cherry wood, its surface so smooth and glossy it reflects the warm, buttery glow of the small brass lamps mounted beside each window. The seats are not merely seats, they are plush, inviting armchairs upholstered in a deep velvet the color of a midnight sky. Run your hand over the fabric in your mind, feel its softness, its comforting weight. The air inside is still and warm, carrying the faintest, almost imperceptible scent of old leather, beeswax, and something wonderfully clean, like fresh linen. Outside, the world is a blur of deepening twilight, but in here, we are cocooned in warmth, safety, and a profound sense of peace. Now, let us turn our attention to the symphony of the journey itself. Can you hear it? That gentle, rhythmic rumble of the wheels on the tracks. It's not a jarring noise, but a deep, resonant hum, a constant, soothing percussion that seems to vibrate right through the floorboards and up into your very bones. It's the heartbeat of our adventure, a steady, hypnotic lullaby designed by the night itself to lull you into a state of perfect relaxation. Listen to it, a steady da-dum, 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 da-dum. Allow this sound to become your anchor, a gentle rhythm that carries you further and further away from the cares and concerns of the waking world. With every click and clack of the rails, you can feel your body letting go, your muscles softening, your mind becoming wonderfully quiet and clear. And as we travel, allow me to trace the map of our impending voyage upon your imagination. I'll tell you about our itinerary. This journey is a carefully curated compilation, a tapestry woven from 5 distinct yet harmonious experiences designed to showcase the soul of Italy. Over the next few days, our Dreambound Express will make several unhurried stops, allowing us to immerse ourselves in some of the country's most cherished and beloved places. Our first destination, which we are fast approaching, lies in the magnificent north of the country. We will alight in the vibrant, sun-drenched lakeside town of Lake Garda. Imagine, for a moment, the scent of citrus groves mingling with the fresh, clean air of a vast alpine lake. Picture houses painted in shades of apricot and rose clinging to the side of a dramatic cliff face. That is where our story begins. From that haven of tranquility, we will once again board our train and let it carry us south to the very cradle of the Renaissance, Florence. There, we won't just see art, we will feel the echoes of Michelangelo's chisel and walk the same cobblestones as the great masters. And just beyond the city's embrace, we will venture into the surrounding Tuscan countryside, a rolling landscape of golden hills, cypress trees standing like dark green sentinels, and vineyards heavy with promise. Our next great leap will take us to the heart of the ancient world. We will board a twilight train to Rome, arriving just in time to witness the magical transformation of the Blue Hour. We will wander through ancient streets as the sky turns a deep, luminous sapphire, feeling the immense weight and wonder of millennia of history all around us. And for our final, blissful stop, we will journey to the coast. There, a quiet, private terrace awaits you, a secluded perch from which you can spend the last, precious hours of the evening overlooking the vast, shimmering expanse of the Mediterranean Sea. It will be the perfect, peaceful conclusion to our travels. After all that wonderful exploration, I am quite certain you will be more than ready for a deep and restorative night's rest. That is, if you don't find yourself drifting off long before then. Have you ever felt that unique stillness that falls just before a grand unveiling? That quiet hum of anticipation when you know something beautiful is just around the corner? It's a feeling that seems to fill the very air in our carriage right now. As I speak, I can feel a subtle shift in the train's momentum. The steady, hypnotic rumble has begun to soften, the pace mellowing from a determined rhythm to a gentle, gliding coast. The world outside, once a painterly blur of motion, is slowly starting to resolve into discernible shapes and colors. This gentle change, this slowing of our world, can only mean one thing. It looks like we're arriving in Limb 1 now. Peer through the polished glass of our carriage window. The first thing you see is a breathtaking expanse of the deepest blue water, a shade so intense it seems to have swallowed the sky itself. This is Lake Garda, and nestled on its shore, clinging to the base of immense, hazy mountains, is our town. You can just make out the warm terracotta tiles of its rooftops, a vibrant splash of orange and red against the lush green of the hillsides. It seems almost unreal, like a perfectly composed painting, a hidden jewel revealed only to us. As you find, traveling by way of the Dreamland Train is perhaps the very best way to see the world. So now, as our train glides the final few feet into the station, let's prepare for our arrival with a single, conscious action. Let's take a nice, deep breath in, filling your lungs with the calm, peaceful air of this carriage. Hold it for just a moment, and now let it all out with a long, slow sigh. As you exhale, feel your entire body melt even deeper into the softness of your bed. Feel it releasing all of your stress from the day, every last bit of tension dissolving and floating away like a cloud. There is nothing left for you to do, no task to complete, no problem to solve. Your only duty now is to relax, to be present, and to enjoy this incredibly relaxing trip through one of the world's most beautiful countries. The train has come to a final, gentle stop. The faint hiss of the brakes is the only sound. Now that we've reached the station, let's disembark the train in our minds and begin our journey. Of course, it is my pleasure to continue our journey. Let us step from the quiet stillness of the station into the morning air of Lake Garda. Here is the second installment, the light and shadow of Lake Garda. As you step from our carriage onto the quiet, sun-drenched platform, the air itself seems to welcome you. It's a complete departure from the warm, still atmosphere of the train. Here, the air is crisp, alive, and carries a gentle coolness from the nearby water. Take a slow breath in. Can you detect it? There's a faint, sweet fragrance of blossoms carried on the breeze, mingling with the clean, almost electric scent of the distant mountains. We have arrived. The station itself is small and unassuming, a simple, charming building that feels more like a country stop than a gateway to a famous destination. There is no rush, no bustling crowd, only the sound of our own footsteps on the stone and the cheerful chirping of unseen birds. We meander down a gently sloping cobblestone path that leads from the station towards the heart of the town. On either side, quiet houses greet us, their stone walls warmed by the morning sun. Many have window boxes overflowing with cascades of vibrant red and pink geraniums, a testament to the care and pride the residents take in their homes. You notice the architecture has a timeless quality, a medieval look that's been preserved throughout generations with heavy wooden doors and dark, slatted shutters. It feels as though we've stepped not just into a new place, but into a different, more peaceful era. The path soon opens up, and there, before us, is the magnificent expanse of Lake Garda. We've made our way to a small, bustling harbor where a charming passenger ferry awaits, its white and blue paint gleaming in the sun. We'll be arriving in the main part of Limb 1 just as so many have for centuries before, cruising on the calm and clear water of Lake Garda. You walk across a sturdy wooden gangplank, the gentle rocking of the boat beneath your feet a comforting, rhythmic motion. We find a perfect spot on the upper deck, a vantage point that offers an uninterrupted panorama of the unfolding spectacle. The ferry's engine hums to life, and with a soft push, we glide away from the dock, out into the open water. A soft breeze cools your skin as you lean one arm on a polished silver railing. The morning sun is beaming through light dustings of fluffy white clouds, dappling the world in shifting patterns of light and shadow. You might find yourself securing a hat to your head, not just as a shield from the sun, but as a pleasant ritual of travel, allowing your eyes to drink in the majesty all around. Look down at the water beside the boat. It is a deep and mesmerizing navy blue color, so clear that you can see deep into its depths. This sapphire canvas is made even more dramatic by the shadows of towering tree-covered mountains that fall upon its surface, creating vast, shifting patches of even deeper indigo. It is a lake of incredible scale and grandeur. This is, after all, the largest lake in all of Italy, a vast inland sea stretching for over 350 square kilometers. Yet, from our current orientation, the lake is narrow enough that you can enjoy a crystal-clear view of both its eastern and western shores, each a mirror image of the other's wild beauty. The lake is alive with gentle activity. You see all sorts of vessels sharing this liquid paradise. There are small rowing boats and pedalos moving at a leisurely pace, their occupants lost in the serenity of the moment. Further out, medium-sized speedboats with lavish interiors carve silent, graceful lines through the water. And dotted across the expanse are about half a dozen other passenger ferries just like ours, transporting tourists from place to place. There are smiling faces all round. You hear the occasional, cheerful cry of ciao carried across the water from a passing boat, a simple greeting that feels like an acknowledgement of the shared joy of being in such a beautiful place. It truly seems that everyone here is enjoying their own perfect slice of paradise. As our boat continues its steady progress, the townscape of Limoni becomes more and more vivid. What was once a distant mosaic of color now resolves into a breathtakingly detailed picture. You can distinguish the individual, orange-tailed rooftops of houses and buildings. Along the promenade that lines the harbor, you can now see dozens of palm trees and vibrant, colorful flowers lining the banks, and the faded canopies of restaurants stretching out over their terraces, promising shade and delicious food. Rising above all its counterparts is a magnificent church bell tower. Its weathered pale green roof is dome-shaped, elegant, and timeless, with a small metal crucifix at its very peak, a quiet point of reverence against the sky. And behind it all, providing the most extraordinary backdrop, are the huge rocky cliffs climbing steep into the sky with a rumpled terrain. They have a soft, hazy appearance in the morning light, almost like they aren't even real, adding to the dreamlike charm of this compact, perfect town. A few minutes later, our ferry glides into the harbor and pulls in beside a wooden dock. The journey across the water is over. You step off the boat and stroll onto a wide, concrete pavement that serves as the main promenade. And here you stop, captivated by something truly special. All along the center of this wide walkway, you see the most beautiful and unusual flower arrangements. They are layered in a unique cylindrical shape, rising about 8 feet off the ground. Each one looks like a broad, living column, a tower submerged with a vast array of bright blooms. You spotted their vibrant colors from the ferry, but up close, they are even more spectacular. You see roses, petunias, verbena, and a dozen other flowers you can't name, all woven together in a breathtaking display of horticultural artistry. As you walk past them, their sweet floral scents swirl through the air, a rich, natural perfume that is simply intoxicating. It's an unforgettable welcome. Ahead of you, a row of shops are just opening for the day, their wares, many of them beach-themed, spilling out onto the pavement. Your eyes are drawn past them, for just beyond the promenade, you see something you weren't aware of before, a small sandy beach, its light golden sand glowing in the morning sun. It's still wonderfully peaceful, with only a handful of people settled on their towels, soaking up the early rays. The quiet allure of the water is irresistible. Before exploring the town any further, you decide to take a stroll down to the water whilst it's still fairly quiet, to feel the sand between your toes and greet the lake up close. You slip off your sandals as you step down from the stone promenade onto the beach, and the world changes instantly. The grains of light golden sand feel warm and soft between your toes. A gentle, comforting texture that seems to draw any lingering tension right out of your body. With each step toward the water, the sand smothers your feet in a warm embrace, kicking up softly behind you. As you get closer to the lake's edge, your ears notice the softest sound of waves on the shore that you can ever remember hearing. Compared to the powerful roar of an ocean, the movement of the lake water is a gentle whisper, a soft, shushing sound that is incredibly calming. You reach the edge and step into the shallow dregs of the small waves. The water is warmer than you expected, but still cool enough that you only let it rise as high as your ankles. It is the perfect temperature, a sensation that seems to instantly refresh your entire body and spirit. You stand here for a while, perfectly still, simply looking out across the magnificent vista of Lake Garda. From this vantage point, the eastern side of the lake is well within view, a dramatic panorama of towering mountains covered in dense green forestry. Where the water is particularly calm, you can see the shimmering, fragmented reflections of those mountains, as if the lake itself is trying to paint a picture of the beauty that surrounds and protects it. After a few minutes of quiet contemplation, feeling comfortably acclimatized to the gentle coolness of the water, you wander back over the dry sand, brush off your feet, and slip your sandals back on. It's time to explore the town itself. You leave the open, sunlit space of the harbor and turn left onto a quiet, shaded path that leads into the heart of the village. Instantly, the atmosphere shifts. The world becomes more intimate, more secret. On either side of the narrow lane, sun-trapped balconies overlook you, sporting yet more vibrant flowers and plants. Each home has a large, dark brown medieval door, heavy and robust, a testament to the preserved history of this place. As you meander, you notice something truly special, a detail that speaks volumes about the town's identity. You look at the street signs and the plaques indicating house numbers. Every single one of them shares a consistent, charming theme, a white tile base with sky blue writing, but it's the border that captures your heart. Each tile is framed with the most endearing borders of yellow lemons, delicately painted to look like they are hanging from branches around the perimeter. It is so clear from this small, unifying detail that the proud tradition of lemon growing is ingrained in the culture and design of the town. The rustic streets are wonderfully peaceful, and you savor this opportunity to dwindle amongst the chalky-colored houses, admiring their exquisite features and the delightful scatterings of purple bougainvillea climbing the walls and terraces. As you continue further up the steep, narrow slopes of the town, you catch a scent of fresh lemon. At first, it's faint, just a whisper on the breeze. But as you climb higher, the citric aroma becomes more distinct, more present. You wonder where it's coming from, as there are no lemon trees in the small gardens you pass. To your right is a tall stone wall with a castle-like appearance to its structure. You step back, trying to get a glimpse over the top, and your eyes are met by a most unusual sight. You see rows of beige stone pillars stand tall in a precise formation that ascends the sloping hillside. Each pillar supports slender wooden beams that stretch from pillar to pillar. It looks almost like the skeleton of an unfinished factory or perhaps an ancient, open-air ruin. Intrigued, you take out your camera to see if you can get a better look, stretching your arm up high and snapping a few photos, trying to solve the riddle of this strange architecture. Just then, a passerby notices your efforts. An older woman with kind eyes and a warm, friendly smile approaches you. "Would you like to see the lemon trees?" she asks in gentle, accented English. In that moment, it all clicks in your mind. This must be one of the region's famous lemon houses. A Lemonia that you've heard about. The kind lady, who has lived in Limwan her entire life, shows you to a gated opening on the opposite wall. "Indeed," she says with a proud gesture. "This is the Castle, the old lemon grove of the town. It was restored by the council some years ago to once again house the trees that gave this town its name and its fortune." As you peer through the ornate metal gate, the source of the heavenly scent is revealed. You see row upon row of bountiful lemon trees, their branches heavy with plush, leafy green leaves and hundreds of plump, ripening, zesty lemons. The trees are planted on several terraced levels of flat turf, ascending the hill just as the pillars do. The woman explains the structure you saw over the wall. For centuries, she tells you the cultivation of lemons was the lifeblood of this area. But in the winter, the weather could be harsh. To protect their precious yields from cold, rain, or snow, the gardeners developed this ingenious design. The stone pillars and wooden beams were constructed to support protective wooden struts and glass panels that could be easily slotted in to create a massive, temporary greenhouse during the harsher months. It's a design unique to this region, one that provided generations of locals with abundant lemon crops. She goes on to explain that lemons are a key ingredient in so many local delicacies. Marmalade, juices, sorbets, and cakes all benefit from the fresh citrus fruit, she says, her eyes twinkling. But perhaps most famous of all, she adds, leaning in conspiratorially, is the popular liqueur drink, limoncello. The lady tells you that when you visit Limwan, it is customary, almost a requirement, that you try the famous liqueur. You smile and promise that you will do just that when you enjoy a spot of lunch by the lake. With that, you thank the kind woman for taking the time to share her wisdom and her town's history with you. She simply smiles and waves as she continues her slow meander up the steep path toward her home. Meanwhile, all this exploring has worked up quite an appetite. It's time to wander back down to the harbor and find a place to eat. On your descent, you pass the Church of Saint Benedetto, the very same building with the majestic bell tower you saw from the ferry. A plaque outside is engraved with the year 1691. You look up at the large clock face on the tower. The time is approaching 1:30 p.m. And right on cue, as the minute hand reaches the half-hour mark, a metallic chime strikes and echoes through Limoni. It's a wonderful, timeless sound that connects the past to the present. Feeling satisfied with your discoveries and ready for refreshment, you head back towards the gleaming sunlight of the waterfront, your mind set on a delicious lunch and a taste of that famous limoncello. The serene, citrus-scented air of Limwan has given way to a new atmosphere. As our train glides silently into its next station, the energy that greets us is different. It's the low, historic hum of a city that has been a nexus of art, power, and ideas for centuries. As the announcement softly chimes, you know exactly where we are. We're just pulling into Florence now. The world of dreams allows for such amazing speed, doesn't it? One moment we are by a northern lake, the next we are in the heart of Tuscany. Let's disembark our cozy carriage and head just down the street. There is a very special place I want to show you first, an essential pilgrimage for any visitor to this city. The walk itself is a prelude to the masterpiece we are about to witness. The sun is warm on our shoulders and the streets are alive with a relaxed, elegant energy. Vespas buzz past like well-dressed dragonflies and the air is filled with the melodious sounds of the Italian language and the faint, tantalizing aroma of leather goods from nearby shops. We are walking with purpose now, making our way toward a building that houses one of history's greatest artistic triumphs. We arrive at the entrance of the Accademia Gallery. As you walk slowly through the entrance, a hush seems to fall. Your footsteps echoing on the stone floor are one of the few distinct sounds in this reverent space. Although you are excited to enter the next room, you find yourself taking your time, savoring the sense of anticipation. In just a moment, you will be standing face to face with a true icon, the most famous statue in the entire world, Michelangelo's David. As you enter a long, grand hallway, your eyes are immediately drawn to the end. There, perfectly framed by the architecture and illuminated by a soft light from above, you catch your first glimpse. That enormous statue is right at the end of the hall, standing on a plinth. Even from this distance, its presence is immense, commanding. Michelangelo's masterpiece depicts the biblical hero David, not after his victory over the giant Goliath, but in the tense, coiled moment just before the battle. He is portrayed as a muscular young man standing tall and looking to the side with an intense expression on his face. In one hand, David holds a slingshot, his body a study in potential energy ready to be unleashed. You walk closer, drawn by an invisible force, keen to admire the artwork in more detail. David is so famous, so embedded in our collective consciousness, that he feels strangely familiar. You've seen his image everywhere, on posters and books and on countless souvenirs. To finally see him in person feels surreal, a little like meeting a celebrity. But you quickly realize that although you thought you knew the statue, nothing, absolutely nothing, can prepare you for the reality of seeing it in person. David is larger than life in every sense. He stands 17 feet tall, towering over the visitors who stand below him. As you join the quiet crowd gathered at his feet, you find yourself comparing the experience to a concert with David on a stage, gazing out over his admiring fans. The sculpture is so powerful, so full of energy, that you can't help but think of David as a person rather than an artwork. This is the point where simple observation begins to transform into something deeper. You start to ponder the sheer impossibility of what you're seeing. How incredible you think that this vibrant, living form was created from a single block of marble. You recall a little of the history from your guidebook. Michelangelo began this monumental work in the year 1501 when he was just 26 years old. He was tasked with taming a gigantic slab of poor quality marble that a couple of artists had already tried to turn it into a sculpture without success. It was a flawed piece of stone, a challenge that had defeated others. Yet, this young man who had already proven his genius saw something no one else did. He spent 3 years chipping away at that rough block. And as you gaze up at the result, you remember a beautiful quote attributed to Michelangelo himself. "I saw the angel in the marble and carved until I set it free." Setting free the angel in the marble. The phrase echoes in your mind. It's such a profound and beautiful concept, one that elevates the act of creation from mere craftsmanship to a form of liberation. You begin to walk around it so you can appreciate every detail, and with this new thought in your mind, you see it differently. You notice the almost impossible realism, the soft curves of his muscles, the detailed outlines of the veins on his hand. And then there is his face, so full of expression and emotion, with his furrowed brow and intense gaze. He seems so utterly human, so alive. That is the angel that Michelangelo saw waiting within the stone. Your gaze then falls upon some of the other marble statues in the gallery, the unfinished works by Michelangelo known as the Prisoners. Here, the concept of freeing the angel becomes breathtakingly clear. These powerful figures are still caught within the stone, their torsos and limbs seeming to push their way out of the stone, seeking to free themselves. Seeing them, you understand David even more. He is the completed vision, the angel fully released. The prisoners are the raw, powerful struggle of that release, frozen in time. It's a deeply moving insight into the mind and soul of a genius. You spend a little more time exploring the gallery, but after a while, you decide it's time to move on. Masterpieces like these are best enjoyed a bit at a time. Their emotional power can be intense. You remember reading about an unusual phenomenon called Stendhal syndrome, a term used to describe the intense feelings that some visitors experience in Florence when overwhelmed by the sheer beauty of the art. It's easy to feel a little overwhelmed here. So it's best to take it slow, absorbing one thing at a time. We will save the other galleries for another day. For now, you are ready to leave this hallowed space and explore the living, breathing artwork of the city streets. Stepping out from the hallowed halls of the Accademia Gallery is like surfacing from a deep, beautiful dream. The cool, reverent silence of the museum is replaced by the gentle, vibrant hum of the city. You find yourself blinking in the warm, sunny afternoon, your eyes adjusting to the bright light. And just as you do, a pleasant breeze in the air drifts by, carrying with it the intoxicating scent of jasmine from a hidden courtyard and the tantalizing smells from nearby restaurants preparing for the evening. It's a city that immediately engages all of your senses. You quickly notice that Florence moves at a different pace. It feels relaxed and laid back, more like a quiet town than a bustling city. Most people get around on foot or by bicycle, and absolutely no one's rushing. People walk slowly here, taking their time so they can appreciate the beauty all around them. Instinctively, you find yourself slowing down too, keeping pace with the city, falling into its unhurried, graceful rhythm. For now, you have no particular destination. You are simply ready to explore the city streets, wandering aimlessly through the historic center. As you stroll down a narrow street, you admire the elegance of the old buildings. They are mostly 3 or 4 stories high, a very human scale that prevents the sky from ever feeling too far away. The buildings are painted in a harmonious palette of pale yellow, cream, or gray, while the wooden shutters on the windows are brown or dark green. Everything matches beautifully, and the color scheme helps to create a sense of tranquility and flow, with one building merging seamlessly into the next. During your walk, something wonderful begins to happen. As the winding streets open and close, you catch occasional glimpses of the Duomo, the gigantic dome of the cathedral which stands in the heart of Florence. Every now and then, the iconic orange-red dome appears at the end of a street, like some vast magical apparition. Part of you is tempted to walk directly towards it to admire this majestic building up close. But you resist. You also like the idea of leaving it for now as a kind of treat. So you continue your meandering path, content to let the magnificent dome play a game of hide-and-seek with you. Right now, you're happy to just wander, absorbing it all. Everywhere you go, you pass a historic building, a weathered statue, or a small plaque commemorating some famous event or person. It truly is like walking through an open-air museum. Your aimless path eventually leads you into a grand, historic square. Dominating the space before you is a grand castle-like structure, its distinctive bell tower adorned with a clock. This is Palazzo Vecchio, a name which translates as Old Palace. You stop for a moment, gazing up at its imposing brick facade, and wonder about the lives that were lived within those powerful walls. A quick look at your guidebook reveals that this was one of the primary residences of the Medici family. And suddenly, the story of Florence deepens. You read that the Medici were a banking dynasty who, for generations, were one of the most powerful and influential families in Europe. But their true legacy lies in their cultural influence. Their immense wealth allowed them to become the greatest patrons of the arts the world has ever known. They commissioned works from Botticelli, Michelangelo, and Raphael, and were also the patrons of Leonardo da Vinci, the astronomer Galileo, and the architect Brunelleschi, the very man who built the magnificent dome that has been teasing you all afternoon. As you stand in the shadow of their former palace, you realize you've found an answer to a question that was forming in your mind. Was it just a coincidence that so many geniuses gathered in this one small city? Or was there something special about Florence? The support and vision of this one powerful family was an undeniable catalyst, creating a vibrant culture where talented people could truly flourish. You put your guidebook away and continue your stroll, but just as your mind is filled with these grand historical thoughts, you are brought delightfully back to the present. You see a group of friends laughing on some nearby steps, enjoying cones of colorful ice cream. Suddenly you find that you also have a craving for something sweet. A little further along, on a corner, you come across a gelato shop. Inside, there is a whole rainbow of flavors on display: strawberry, mandarin, lemon, kiwi, blueberry. On this warm afternoon, you feel like something light and fruity, so you get a cone with 2 large scoops of creamy lemon gelato. The woman who serves you hands you the cone with a warm smile, explaining that it's made with some of the best lemons in Italy. They're grown in the south on the Amalfi Coast. You take the first taste and you close your eyes for a moment, savoring the delicious zesty flavor. The cool intensity of the citrus taste seems to transport you away from the city to a sunny lemon grove high above a sapphire sea. It's wonderfully refreshing, and the subtle sweetness gives you a light boost of energy. You are ready to walk on. Soon, you find yourself walking down a most unusual street. At first, it seems ordinary, lined with shops on both sides. But when you look into a shop, you notice you can see right through it, out the window on the other side, to a view of the sky and a distant hill. You realize this street is actually a footbridge, the oldest in Florence. This is the Ponte Vecchio, which crosses the Arno River. As you walk across, you notice that every shop window is filled with glittering gold. Rings, bracelets, and necklaces. The bridge has been home to goldsmiths and jewelers for centuries, ever since one of the Medici Grand Dukes objected to the marketplace atmosphere of the butchers and fishmongers who were originally here and ordered them replaced with something more refined. You walk to an open space in the middle of the bridge, leaning on the low stone wall to admire the view of the river. To your left, the elegant old building of the Uffizi Gallery seems to glow gold in the afternoon sunlight. The view is so perfect it resembles a well-composed painting. In the distance, you can see another bridge, an ancient tower, and a gentle hill rising up, topped with the tall, thin cypress trees of Tuscany. A quiet desire sparks within you to go there, to see Florence from another perspective, setting the stage for the next part of our wonderful journey. You retrace your steps through the cooling shade of the back streets, the delicious, zesty memory of the gelato still lingering on your tongue. Soon you arrive back at the hotel and make your way up to your room on the top floor. It's a small but comfortable space, and you notice how it, too, pays tribute to the city's history. The curtains are a creamy velvet with intricate floral designs in varying shades of red, a nod to the famous textile industry that once brought Florence such immense wealth. But there is something else that makes this hotel room so special. You wanted a room with a view, and this room delivers. Drawing back the curtains, you open a glass door and step onto the balcony, and there, right in front of you, is the grand finale to your day in Florence. Rising up from a sea of terracotta rooftops is the Duomo, the iconic dome of the cathedral. This vast, magnificent structure, made of orange-red bricks and adorned with an ornate white marble lantern, is the very symbol of the city. In the golden light of the late afternoon, it seems to glow from within, reminiscent of a setting sun. As you gaze at it, you remember reading about the construction of the dome, which was designed by Brunelleschi. For more than a century after the cathedral's construction began, it remained unfinished, a great open wound in the center of the city, because no one knew how to build a self-supporting dome of such a colossal size. According to legend, when the city's commissioners were struggling to choose an architect, Brunelleschi, a local goldsmith who had never built anything, proposed a simple challenge. The project should go to whoever could make an egg stay upright on a marble slab. One by one, the other architects tried and failed. When it was Brunelleschi's turn, he took the egg and tapped it against the table, breaking the shell. The egg stayed upright and he got the commission. It was a legendary demonstration of his philosophy. To achieve the seemingly impossible, one must be willing to think differently. As you stand on the balcony admiring his magnificent creation, you smile. It's a perfect final thought to close our time in this city of genius. The next morning, the city fades into the background as a new adventure begins. After a pleasant breakfast, you find yourself hopping into a rented hatchback car. We are leaving the city behind and beginning our drive out into the legendary Tuscan countryside. Within half an hour, the urban landscape has completely dissolved. You find yourself surrounded by greenery, dry cross-hands forestry, and a vast number of olive gardens. With the windows rolled down, you feel the warm breeze running through your hair. The clear, unpolluted air fills your lungs. The only sounds are the steady hum of the car engine and the pleasant sound of birdsong in the passing treetops. The road itself is part of the experience. The tarmac below your tires is a baked, dull gray, showing scars from decades of service. As you ascend a gentle country lane, you are met with frequent hairpin bends to navigate. The driving is a joy, a slow and steady dance with the contours of the land. For a little while, the road is surrounded by large trees, slightly leaning in at their peaks. They create a tunnel-like effect as you pass through, and the dappled sunlight flickers across the dashboard as you climb the steady gradient. Then it happens. Suddenly, the trees clear to one side, the sun glazing once more. The views are astonishing. Before you, the world opens up into one of the most iconic landscapes on Earth. You see rolling hills of pure green, set beneath a hazy blue sky. It is nature's artwork all around, as far as the eye can see. It's a sight so perfect, so utterly beautiful, that it almost doesn't seem real. 100 meters or so down the road, you pull into a small lay-by. There, as if placed by a landscape artist, is a perfectly situated bench that acts as a viewpoint for its appreciative audience. You get out of the car and sit down, using your eyes like a camera lens capturing blissful and vivid memories. Just below the hillside are a series of olive trees. Their unmistakable scent hits your nostrils before your eyes have even spotted the source. In various directions, there are small properties, barns, and other buildings dotted about, with narrow, dusty roads leading to further beyond. And then you see it. Halfway up another hill, you catch sight of a small but majestic castle. It looks to be in good condition, flaunting exquisite corner towers and no signs of damage to the outer structure. You find yourself wondering if it might still be in use today. The sight of this distant fortress, standing silent and proud amidst the rolling hills, sparks a new sense of purpose. It prompts you to return to your car and set off on a quest to find the castle. Our leisurely drive has just become a gentle adventure. With the image of those elegant towers now fixed in your mind, you start the engine and pull back onto the quiet road, heading slowly and steadily deeper into the Chianti region, ready to uncover the secrets of that beautiful, mysterious castle on the hill. After returning to the car, you take a left-hand turn, following a small wooden pointer with a castle pictured on it. It's a charming, rustic sign that confirms you are on the right path. Instantly, the landscape transforms. You find yourself driving through a world utterly dedicated to the art of winemaking. Hundreds of rows of vines surround the road on either side, boasting endless bunches of plush grapes, red and green. They are a picture of abundance, almost ready for picking in the approaching harvest season. The rows are impeccably neat, stretching up and over the rolling hills in perfect, geometric lines, a testament to the generations of care that have been poured into this land. The sun shines through the leaves, illuminating the grapes, so they look like clusters of jewels, amethysts and peridots hanging from the vines. A couple of kilometers later, you pass through a small village called Santa Brigida. There isn't much of note here, just a few shops, bars, and restaurants. But it's a perfect slice of authentic Tuscan life. Some locals are sat outside, taking in the warm sun and enjoying their mid-morning espresso coffees. They chat quietly amongst themselves, their lives moving at a pace dictated by the sun and the seasons, not a clock. With little in the way of road signs, you decide to pull over. You politely approach an elderly couple sitting at a small table. In your best, most carefully pronounced Italian, you ask, "Scusi, Davia il castello, per favor?" "Excuse me, where's the castle, please?" They smile and instantly identify your native tongue. And to your relief, the gentleman replies in kind, broken English. "Ah, the castle, the Castello del Trebio. It is a few kilometers further," he says, pointing up the road. "You will see signs to your right. You must go right to find it." With warm thanks, you depart the small village, feeling reassured by this simple, friendly human connection. Just as the couple promised, you soon see the signposts for the road on the right, labeled Castello del Trebio. Here, the roads are again encompassed by many acres of vineyards on both sides. And then, finally, you spot the castle in all its glory. It is a beautifully maintained 12th century building, with thick stone brick walls and a large wooden entrance gate that is open. It's even more impressive up close than it was from the distant viewpoint. As you slowly drive past, you see a number of visitors in the small courtyard inside. It's at this point that you realize your quest has led you somewhere unexpected. This is not a silent, empty ruin. This is a living place. You see a sign by the gate and understand. The castle is home to an operating winery. The public can take tours. The quest to find a castle has wonderfully transformed into an invitation to discover its secrets. You park the car and proceed into the shaded courtyard. The moment you step through the gate, the aroma of pressed grapes hits your nostrils instantly. A rich, sweet, and earthy scent that is absolutely intoxicating. It's accompanied by the fragrance of the many colorful flowers dotted around the castle walls. A friendly tour guide invites you to join a small group for a look around. First, you are taken down a straight stone staircase to the cellars. Here, the temperature is even cooler, a welcome respite from the ground-level heat. The cellars are filled with large wooden barrels, stacked high in the cool, dim light. The tour guide explains how the wine remains in these barrels for set amounts of time to mature and stabilize, evolving the flavors to perfection. The woody, wine-soaked scent permeates the cool air, and you feel you can almost taste it with just your sense of smell. After the tour of the cellars and the bottling rooms, you are invited back out into the sun-dappled courtyard. Here, a table has been set up for the highlight of the visit. Wine tasting and complimentary snacks are offered. The guide pours small measures of red, white, and desert wines into your glass. You are encouraged to first press your nose to the rim of the glass and inhale deeply. You identify the woody, nutty scent of the red, the fruity, crisp tones of the white, and the sweet, overripe aroma of the dessert wine. As you take your first sip, enjoying the relaxed and happy atmosphere in this ancient Tuscan castle, a sense of complete peace and joy fills you within. To think that by chance you spotted this castle from a distant hill, and now, hours later, here you are, sharing an enchanting, authentic experience with other happy visitors. The tour ends in the early hours of the afternoon. To savor the peaceful feeling, you decide to take a stroll up a quiet lane beside the castle. The baked, earthy path scuffs under your feet as you ease along at a relaxed pace. In the trees, you hear the sounds of birds hard at work, and a friendly dog trots out to greet you as his owner waves fondly from his deck chair. By the time you return to your car, the afternoon is closing out, and your stomach is beginning to rumble. Setting off once more, you head back in the general direction of Florence. On your way, you pass a small pizzeria set against yet another impressive backdrop. Feeling ready for refreshment, this seems like the perfect end to your Tuscan day trip. You are welcomed warmly and shown to a balcony table overlooking the vineyard. As you are served excellent food and drink, you just take time to sit and relax, watching as the sun sets over the deep green hills. Gradually, the familiar sound of crickets fades in across the dimming landscape. It doesn't faze you to be sitting here on your own. In fact, it provides a quiet, peaceful time to reflect on the day's unexpected adventure. By the time you eventually return to your apartment in Florence, you are feeling sleepy, content, and filled with the tranquil memories of a perfect Tuscan day. There is no formal arrival at a bustling station this time. The magic of the Dreamland Train is such that one beautiful moment can simply melt into the next. You find yourself already there, sitting in a cafe in the historic center of Rome. The transition is seamless, as if you've been here all along. It is late afternoon in early summer. Although you are technically inside the cafe, in a way you're outdoors too. A tall window opens right onto the street, and your table touches the gray cobbles of the piazza. This small, hidden square is one of the most beautiful in the city. Tucked away in the heart of the ancient quarter, it feels like a tranquil refuge from the hustle and bustle of the nearby shopping streets. In the middle of the piazza is a gorgeous Renaissance fountain. As you sit in the cafe, slowly sipping a cool drink, you find your gaze drawn to it. You admire its intricate details, noticing how the fading sunlight sparkles on the flowing water and illuminates the limbs of the bronze boys. There are smiling statues that decorate the fountain. Each boy has an arm raised with a hand reaching out to catch a bronze turtle falling from a basin above. The boys, in turn, rest their feet on a dolphin, which pours water into a shell and then into the wide basin below. It is such an unusual, imaginative fountain, a true work of art that feels more like a playful story than a static monument. You glance down at your guidebook on the table, and it tells you there is a short section on the fountain and the intriguing Roman legend about its origins. You lean back in your chair and read. According to the story, a young man fell in love with the daughter of a wealthy older man who lived in this square. The young couple wanted to marry, but first the man had to convince his potential father-in-law it was a good idea. The wealthy father, skeptical of the young suitor's means, constantly belittled him. So, in the middle of the night, the young man arranged for the turtle fountain to be constructed at the center of the square. When the father opened the shutters of his bedroom window the next morning, he was astonished to see it had appeared overnight. He was so impressed by this seemingly magical feat, this grand gesture of love and imagination, that he allowed the wedding to go ahead. The young couple were married, and now, 500 years later, this bronze symbol of love and imagination is still standing, capturing the hearts of all who pass by. Looking up from the book, you see the fountain in front of you with a renewed sense of appreciation and wonder. Although the legend is likely just a romantic fantasy, it's still inspiring. If nothing else, it's a sign of the monument's deep importance to the neighborhood. The locals were so moved by its beauty that they dreamed up a perfect story to explain its miraculous appearance. Sitting here, listening to the gentle, trickling water is so relaxing that you could happily stay for the rest of the day. But as you continue to sit, you begin to notice a subtle change in the world around you. The light is fading, slowly softening. The brilliant gold of the late afternoon is giving way to something cooler, more ethereal. It is the beginning of the blue hour, that magical, transient time of twilight, when the sun dips below the horizon, and the sky is transformed into a beautiful shade of blue. This is the perfect time for a stroll. You leave a few coins on the table, rise from your chair, and step out into the streets of Rome. This moment, you realize, is particularly spellbinding in this ancient city. You immediately notice the contrast with the golden lamp light against the darkening streets, which creates little shining pools on the cobblestones. As you walk, some details of the city seem to fade away into the encroaching darkness, while anything that contrasts with the sky becomes more defined. Against the deep blue backdrop, the tower's domes and rooftop gardens are clearly visible, even from street level. And then you hear them, high above, the swifts, which dive and spiral high above the rooftops. These remarkable birds spend their winters in Africa but return to Rome every spring and summer. Judging by their incredible aerobatic displays and joyous cries, they seem to be celebrating their homecoming. Their ecstatic song echoes through the narrow streets, a perfect, wild soundtrack for this magical hour. As you stroll through the back streets, you admire the beautiful old buildings, patterned by time. In the daylight, they are mostly shades of sunset reds, oranges, and pinks. But now, as the blue hour deepens, even the walls of the buildings seem to magically change color, turning blue silver or black. You look up at the apartment blocks that line the narrow street. It's incredible to think that they have been inhabited for hundreds of years, home to countless generations of Roman families. Hearing voices above you, you look up and see an old man lean out the window to pull the shutters closed. There's something incredibly comforting about this mundane little ritual, signaling the arrival of the dark and the end of the working day. You imagine the man in his kitchen now, perhaps preparing a traditional Jewish Roman dish that is characteristic of this historic neighborhood, like deep-fried artichoke. You breathe in deeply, and you can almost smell the aroma of garlic and vegetables sizzling in a pan. It's a nice image, but you're happy to be outside, exploring these ancient streets and breathing in the fragrant air. A mix of cooking, flowers, and the cool, earthy scent of old stone. Following your instinct, your quiet, aimless wandering through the blue hour labyrinth has led you somewhere truly special. You turn a corner, leaving a narrow, shadowed alley behind, and the world suddenly expands. You find yourself standing at the edge of Piazza Navona, perhaps the most beautiful square in all of Rome. The sheer scale of the large, oval-shaped space is breathtaking after the intimacy of the back streets. It's a sudden intake of breath, a grand unveiling. One side of the piazza is lined with elegant restaurants and bars with tables spilling out into the center, their white tablecloths and soft candlelight creating a warm, inviting glow. On the other side stands a breathtaking 17th century Baroque church. Its magnificent facade of white marble has a silvery shine at this time of the evening. High above, you see the first hint of the night to come, the outline of a crescent moon, a delicate silver sliver against the deepening blue. The gradual dreamy transition from dusk to night is almost complete. You begin to wander across the vast, cobbled expanse drawn towards the center. You listen to the murmur of voices in the restaurants, a blend of Italian English and other melodious languages drifting towards you. You can't make out the individual words, but the sound itself is soothing, a gentle symphony of human connection and contentment. This square, you realize, is a meeting point for both Romans and tourists. It's where locals come for their evening passeggiata, their traditional aimless stroll. You see lovers walk hand in hand, children run and play, and visitors chatter happily, all soaking up the magical atmosphere. Despite all the people coming and going, Piazza Navona retains its tranquil, dreamlike ambience, thanks in part to its many fountains. There is a huge, majestic one right in the middle opposite the church. You walk up to this beautiful central fountain to get a closer look. It is Bernini's masterpiece, the Fountain of the Four Rivers. The impressive statues at each side represent the gods of four major rivers from the four known continents of the time. But the grandeur of these figures is almost overshadowed by the ancient Egyptian obelisk at its center, an imposing pillar that surges up into the deep blue sky. From where you're standing, it looks as though its tip could almost touch the crescent moon that is coming into focus above. As you stand next to it, a strange and wonderful thing happens. All the other sounds of the square disappear. The murmur of conversation, the clinking of glasses, the distant laughter, it all fades away, replaced by a single, powerful sound, the flow of the water gushing into the serene turquoise pool in the basin below. You decide to sit down on a marble bench nearby. You lean your head back and close your eyes. With your vision turned off, the sound seems to intensify. It no longer sounds like a fountain, it now resembles a waterfall in some wild, natural place. It's in this moment you realize that Rome is full of these magical illusions where one thing seems to transform into another with the slightest shift in perception. This city of stone often has a transient, dreamlike quality. You recall reading about a little-known street, high on a hill overlooking the Vatican. It opens up at the end to reveal a perfect panorama and a view of the dome of St. Peter's Basilica. But a strange illusion occurs there. As you get closer to the viewpoint, the dome appears smaller, as though it's receding into the distance. And when you move away, the dome seems to move towards you, growing bigger and bigger. This effect, they say, is particularly mesmerizing after dark. One day, perhaps you'll discover that beautiful optical illusion for yourself. But for now, you are content to sit here, lost in the sound of rushing water and the thought of the city's enchanting secrets. Feeling rested, you stand up from the bench, but before you leave the square, you turn back for one last look. And you realize that while your eyes were closed, the blue hour transformed into night. The sky is now black, streaked with soft gray clouds. The moon has risen fully and now shines high above the obelisk, bathing the square in a silver light. Beneath this perfect night sky, the buildings and monuments look somehow unreal, like the backdrop on a stage. It feels as though it could be the setting for a grand play or an opera, and that there might be nothing but darkness behind those beautiful, illuminated facades. It's only an illusion, of course, like so much else here in the Eternal City. But the beauty of Rome is that there is always something else to discover beyond every wall and around every corner. For a little while longer, you allow yourself to get pleasantly lost once more, wandering away from the grand piazza and back into the quiet, magical labyrinth of the back streets. For a little while, you allow yourself to get pleasantly lost in the back streets. After the brilliant spectacle of Piazza Navona, the quiet, winding labyrinth of the neighborhood feels comforting and intimate. The moon casts long, soft shadows on the cobblestones, and you feel as though you're stepping into the past, walking through a version of Rome that has hardly changed at all throughout the centuries. As you wander, you notice a wide space between the buildings ahead, a sudden gap in the dense architecture. Through it, you can see an open stretch of dark sky and some lights twinkling in the distance. Finding this sudden break in the skyline can mean only one thing: you're near the river. You cross one more street and then another, and soon you find yourself standing beneath a row of verdant plane trees that overlook the Tiber River. You lean your tired arms against the low wall and gaze down at the waterway. It flows far below you, moving at a slow, dreamy pace. The Tiber at night is not quite what you would expect from the central river in a major capital city. The water moves lazily, and there are no boats, just the occasional bird bobbing on the surface. It feels less like an urban artery and more like something you might find in the tranquil countryside. It is profoundly peaceful. Looking to your left, you see something quite unexpected: an island in the middle of the river. Its size and curved shape make you think of a ship, and for a fleeting magical moment, in the soft, trickling moonlight, it seems to be moving towards you, a ghostly vessel sailing through the heart of the city. Then you look again, more closely, and realize it's another one of Rome's beautiful illusions. The top part of the island is thick with umbrella pine trees, and as they sway and dance in the evening breeze, their movement makes it look as though the entire island is slowly drifting down the river. This is Tiber Island, a sanctuary of peace in the city center. You recall from your guidebook that it has a fascinating history. Its association with healing can be traced back to the 3rd century BCE. According to legend, a group of Romans sent to Greece to battle a plague were returning with a sacred snake from a temple to the god of healing. As their ship sailed up the Tiber, the animals slithered off and disappeared into the vegetation of Tiber Island. The people interpreted this as an omen and decided to build a temple to the god of healing right there on that very spot. Ever since, the island has been a place of medicine and recovery. You feel drawn to this place of ancient stories and quiet illusions. You decide to cross over. A stone bridge connects the banks where you're standing to the island. Built in 62 BCE, it is the oldest Roman bridge still in use in the city. As you walk towards it, you become even more convinced of the island's resemblance to a ship, and you learn that this is no coincidence. The legend of the sacred snake and its ship was so popular with the people of Rome that they deliberately enhanced the illusion, creating a curved stone outline around the island to make it look even more like a boat. They even added an obelisk in its main square, resembling a mast. The illusion that charmed you from a distance was, in fact, a deliberate work of ancient art. You step onto the bridge. Although you are the only person crossing at this particular moment, you're not quite alone. On each stone parapet stands an enigmatic statue with 4 heads, watching over the river. These are representations of Janus, the Roman god of beginnings, transitions, and passages. He is the god of doorways and gateways, of endings and new beginnings. In mythology, Janus was the father of Tiberinus, the god of the river itself. And as you walk between these ancient, 4-faced guardians, it feels as though a father is watching over his son through the centuries. And you are passing through a sacred, transitional space, held in a moment of profound, mythological peace. You would like to explore the island in depth, but you are beginning to feel pleasantly sleepy. You decide to walk just a little further and find a place to sit and rest for a while. You cross through a moonlit piazza on the island and continue until you find a flight of stone stairs leading down the side of the island. You begin to descend, taking them one by one. With every step, the noise of the city fades further away, replaced by the rushing water of a small weir next to the island. Soon, all you can hear is its perpetual flow and the occasional cry of a seagull. It's as though you are moving into another world by the water's edge. When you reach the bottom step, you take in a deep breath. You catch the unmistakable scent of the river, cool, fresh, and earthy. Looking around, you notice that there are a handful of deck chairs scattered along the stone walkway. It is the perfect place to sit quietly and take in the atmosphere. You wander over to the nearest chair and sit down. It feels so good to rest your feet after your long walk. You close your eyes. You've seen so much this evening that you no longer feel the need to look. It is enough to just sit here by the river's edge, breathing in and out and relaxing, allowing the soothing sound of the water to lead you gradually, peacefully towards sleep. You've been relaxing in a deck chair on a rooftop terrace for a while now, floating in that pleasant space between wakefulness and sleep. The gentle weight of the afternoon sun warms your skin, while a blissful sea breeze drifts over you, a perfect, soothing counterpoint. You are starting to feel pleasantly tired, but you also feel a gentle curiosity about this beautiful, private space. You think it might be nice to walk around and admire the view. Slowly raising yourself out of the deck chair, you stretch your arms and legs. Your whole body is relaxed, loose, and comfortable. You walk around a row of potted plants to the nearest edge of the terrace and lean on the wall to see what's below. From this side, you look down into a private courtyard, a paved square with a small garden and fountain in the middle of the building. Although you're high up, you can just make out the soft trickle of the fountain below. At this time of day, there aren't many people about. Then you see a dog trot across the courtyard, wagging his tail. He jumps up and puts his paws against the edge of the fountain, but he's too small to reach the water. Just then, you spot his owner, an old man slowly following his pup across the courtyard. The old man picks up the dog and holds him to the stream of water flowing from the fountain. The little dog laps it up gratefully. It's a small, quiet moment of everyday kindness. Your gaze drifts from the fountain to the shade of some palm trees, where you catch sight of a couple of other inhabitants. There's a girl sitting in the shade, cross-legged on the grass, with a pad of white paper in her lap. You watch her hand moving rhythmically over the paper. Is she writing or drawing? It's hard to tell from up here. You imagine her writing a story, or perhaps sketching the fountain. Whatever she's doing, she's found the perfect, peaceful spot for it. Just then, you hear the distant squeak of a shutter opening and see a head emerge from a window just above where the girl is sitting. A woman begins to hang out her washing to dry on a short washing line beneath her window. You watch her shake each item, position it carefully, and peg it in place. There is something incredibly soothing about watching domestic scenes like this. The repetitive yet calming routine, it seems to happen in slow motion. Your gaze lifts from the courtyard, over the roof of the building, to the many other buildings that make up this coastal town. It's a beautiful sea of rooftops, and you notice the subtle differences in their colors. Burnt orange, russet red, terracotta, cherry blossom, peach pink, golden yellow like the sun. On neighboring terraces, you see clean white sheets hung out to dry, blowing in the wind like the sails of a ship. You follow the path of a seagull as it drifts effortlessly on the breeze, and its path leads your eyes to the other side of the terrace and to the sea. You walk to the opposite side, and there it is. Beyond further rows of buildings and balconies, there's a thin line of palm trees, and above their green leaves, the shimmering expanse of the sea. From this distance, it looks so calm it could be a lake. But if you look closely, you can just see the white crests of the waves as they roll towards the beach. You close your eyes and breathe in deeply. This time, you are sure it's not your imagination. You can smell the sea, a fresh, salty scent carried on the breeze, mingled with the jasmine from the neighbor's trellis. You see a woman on a neighboring balcony watering her many plants one by one with a hose, moving slowly, with no hurry at all. And you think, maybe you'll do the same. You find a plastic watering can sitting beneath a tap in the wall. You turn the rusty tap and wait while the watering can slowly fills, listening to the calming flow of water, a trickle and an echo that becomes gradually quieter. When it's full, you move towards the nearest plant, a small tree with fruit known as the loquat. You pick one of the soft, orange fruits, rinse it under the tap, and slowly take a bite. The sweet, juicy flavor bursts on your tongue, a little like a cross between a peach and a mango. It's as refreshing as a cool glass of water. You move methodically around the terrace, from plant to plant. Whenever you return to the tap, you pass a trellis covered with cascading jasmine. You close your eyes and breathe in deeply, letting its heady fragrance spread right through you. You turn your attention to a row of small pots near the deck chair. They all contain herbs: basil, rosemary, parsley, mint, thyme, and sage. You stroke the soft, gray-green sage leaves and think about how this plant has been used for centuries, by ancient Greeks and Romans and by monks in monastery gardens. It's a soothing connection to the past. After watering the last plant, you notice that some soil and petals have scattered across the orange floor tiles. As you're putting things in order, you might as well clean up. You pick up a broom and begin to slowly sweep the floor section by section. The back and forth motion is surprisingly relaxing. When you finish, you lean the broom against the wall and look up. You see that the sky has changed color again, from light blue to deep blue, from deep blue to purple, and then from purple to a fiery orange. You move the deck chair so it's facing towards the sea and the sunset. You sit down, your gentle work complete, ready to simply gaze at the sky and admire the spectacular shifting colors of the evening. You could happily sit here for hours just watching without a single thought in your head. Just you and the sunset. You gaze at the sky, admiring the spectacular, shifting colors. Fiery orange melts into soft rose, which deepens into a royal purple at the edges of the world. But you know the sunset can't last forever. Slowly, the radiance fades as the sun vanishes on the horizon, dipping below the dark line of the sea. The sky is growing deeper and darker. Looking around the terrace, you see that the outlines of the plants are starting to blend with the darker backdrop. Soon, it will be too dark to see anything clearly. You decide to light the lanterns that are positioned on the corners of each wall, ready for just this moment. You light the first lantern, and a small, warm pool of golden light spreads across the tiles. Then the second. As you walk slowly across the terrace, taking care not to trip over the plants, you sense something moving on the ground near one of the pots. Just as you light the third lantern, a cat moves into the pool of light on the tiles. He makes a soft meowing sound and nuzzles against your leg. You lean down to stroke him, running your fingers through his soft fur, and he lets out a deep, relaxing purr that seems to vibrate through your hand. He is a plump, well-fed Siamese cat who belongs to a family in the building next door, a friendly nocturnal explorer. This evening, he seems to have chosen your terrace and your company. You gently cradle the cat in your arms and wander back towards the deck chair. There, you carefully sit down and slide back in the chair until you're comfortable. The cat settles down on your legs, purring contentedly, acting as if he's known you his entire life. He is so at ease curled up in your lap. You had thought at some point you might get up and gather some herbs to prepare dinner. But right now you're not particularly hungry or even thirsty. You are just pleasantly, deeply relaxed, and there doesn't seem to be a need to do anything else but enjoy this moment of quiet companionship. As you sit, you become aware of a distant music. It sounds like one of the neighbors is practicing the piano. The gentle, soothing melody reminds you of a lullaby. Every now and then the player stops and then begins again, over and over. This imperfection makes it all the more soothing. It's not a performance, it's a private, peaceful moment that is floating out on the night air. The pleasant, tinkering sound reverberates through the quiet courtyard and floats across the terrace, past your ears, and to the ocean. It seems to be soothing the cat too. He yawns and purrs sleepily, his eyes begin to drift between open and shut. Stroking the cat becomes an almost hypnotic, automatic movement, and you rest your head back, looking up at the sky. It is dark now and full of stars. There isn't a cloud in sight, and you haven't the slightest concern or worry in your mind. In fact, you wonder if you're even having thoughts, or if your mind is just lost in the present experience. As time passes, your mind empties completely. You are conscious of nothing except the night sky, bursting with silver stars like a meadow of flowers flowing onto infinity. The sleeping cat breathes in and out, a slow, steady rhythm in time with your own breaths. You are not sure what time it is, but eventually you find yourself falling asleep too, right there in the chair. A little while later, a slightly cooler breeze rouses you just enough to form a single, sleepy thought. You had better climb into bed. You carefully slide the cat over. He barely lifts his head before curling back up into a ball on the chair. You walk inside and close the glass door to the terrace, leaving the cat to his rooftop dreams. You are looking forward to getting into your bed. You remember that you just washed and dried the sheets today. Pulling back the covers on your bed, you run your hand along the pillow. Crisp and clean, exactly as you expected. You lie down and tuck yourself in. At this point, you've been half asleep for quite some time, so it's not long before you drift into peaceful dreams. Well, that's the end of our Italian journey. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I hope to see you again soon for more sleepy adventures. Until then, good night.